Today is a very difficult day for me personally. It's been 40 full years since I met HaRav Meir HaLevi, Meir Rabbi, Areni Kaparis Mishkavai, and I was trying to formulate my thoughts. How do I begin and how do you end? And the emes is you have to say beforehand that you're not going to end. At least I'm not going to end. We're going to begin. And in order for me to be masped him properly, we would have to assume that I understand him, that I know him, and that I'm on his level. In order for one doctor to testify about another doctor, he has to be in the same field. He has to know Dr. I. If a guy is not a doctor, testifies about a doctor, it's only so he says a great doctor. Mechatesa, what are you? So I'm not going to attempt to teach him up. I'm going to try to share with you some lessons that I personally experienced, because Hoidul Hashem Ki Toiv, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was mezakeh me with somebody who, when I think about it, he guided me in so many different areas of my life. And I'm extremely thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he put into my mind to write down everything that I heard from him, that I understood was hadracha, and some things that I didn't understand was hadracha b'shas ma'isa. And in so many different areas of his life, of my life, he guided and showed me. I was also privy to see him from a perspective that many other people and many other his Talmidim did not see him. He shared with me personal things, and he was a very hidden person, extremely tzanua, and to get things out of him, you needed a good dentist. And I was talking over with a Talmud today, like how he used to give out even a story, part of a story, and then 5 years later he would tell me the other part. He would never give me the whole picture sometimes. He would give me the whole thing. I used to tell him, Ich bin hungrig. I'm hungry. Feed me the whole, give me the whole thing. It's a bislach, you know. And everything was with a cheshbon. I couldn't figure out what his cheshbon was. But the first thing I want to share with you is what was unique about him. My father once asked me, what draws you to him? So the emes says, Chazal tell us, Kosha misas tzadikim lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu ki yoim shenishtabru boi haluchis. Chazal compare the death of a tzaddik to the breaking of the luchis. Now I don't know if it includes everybody that's just a tzaddik and not a rasha, but I presume if we're comparing it to shviras haluchis, there's something, we're talking about a tzaddik that shares some common ground with the luchis. So we have to understand what is the uniqueness of the luchis. the Luchais offered two things. Number one, there was no kesher, physical kesher, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, b'chvoidoi of me'atzmoi, to have in this world something that was Maisa Elikim, Michtav Elikim, and for that to be ours, and Hashem to bequeath that to us, it was unheard of. That's number one. Number two, had we received the Luchais, they wouldn't have been broken. It says our Hasaga, our ability to comprehend Hashem, to comprehend Torah, to comprehend the emes, lamitoi, shaldavar, in all the areas of life, would have been unparalleled. There would have been no machloikis. Everything would have been clear. There would have been no necessity for Torah Sheba'al Peh, as the Zayd of the Beis HaLevi writes Barichis in his Drushim about this. And the Rebbe used to say this over also. It's a tremendous act. We have no imagination. And it was broken. Chazal tell us that a Mises Tzadikim is kosher l'fnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu, like Shviras Haluchos. One thing I can tell you is that HaRav Meir was as close to this Luchais that Shaykh. There are many tzaddikim in this world. Their pride was that we are the Moisrei HaTorah. We are attached not to new Torah, not to people who open up a Gemara and make up their Chedushim. His whole Yesoid in Lebim is Moshe Kibel Torah Misinai. Moshe was Mekabel the Torah Misinai Umisora Yeshua. And the Rebbe said, I was Mekabel Torah from mein Tata. And mein Tata was from his Tata. And it goes back. Deirs. And their Iker Nakuda, as opposed to most of the world. Most of the world is seeking to be Machadesh, Chidush. The emphasis is, could you come up with a new thought? Their whole Dogish emphasis was transmitting what we were Mekabel, the Torah that you're Mekabel from former generations is a greater Torah, it's a greater Messiah. Torah given over Messiah is Torah's emes. Whether you think it stims with this world, it doesn't stim with this world, is it acceptable, not acceptable, is irrelevant. The Hasaga of Torah. He would laugh at today's Hasaga in Torah. When he spoke about Torah, he was talking about the Torah, the Briskerov Hasagas, Reb Chaim's Hasagas. They spoke about how the Beis HaLevi learned Torah, how the Beis HaLevi had Yiras Shamayim, and Reb Chaim's Yiras Shamayim, the Briskerov's Yiras Shamayim. It wasn't, I was learning by him. I once had Hatzlocha, I can't tell you the Hatzlocha. I was a thinker and I was a person that had his own thoughts. I was a bacher, I was fadimyant, I thought I was a decent bacher, I thought I had heard things from here, I read things in the newspaper, I read things in books, I knew about Yiddishkeit. I heard of the Chavetz Chaim, I heard of Rav Moshe Feinstein. And when I came to Brisk, and the first thing, everything I heard from Rebbe wasn't like what I was used to. And I remember it rubbed me the wrong way. And the older would talk about it. The older Talmidim were more accepting, and the younger were the ones who were questioning. But they questioned and went on with their life. I remember speaking to younger Talmidim of Rabbi Yoshe Ber. And the guy tells them, yeah, you know what it is. They're a little extreme. They don't think straight. They think so glad. But they're extremists. They're not eating anoshim bein other anoshim. I told the guy, that's what you think of your Rebbe? That's pretty scary. I said, I know my Rebbe is right. I don't understand why he's right. And it bothers me that I don't understand why he's right. But I always would go and engage him. And a lot of time, he was bothered by it. He was bothered by it. And instead of him telling me, you little runt, you mechutzev she'en kamoisek, who in the world do you think you're arguing with? He was always, let me explain it to you. Let me tell it over to you. And then finally, after a while, he said to me, Yisrael, let's get something straight here. I'll never forget, I was standing, I never sat in his presence. He never offered me a chair till I got married and I left yeshiva and then I came back. There was an hugga of a rebbe to a Talmud. And Huggy was makabel from his father. He told me, I went to ask him what kind of mental kind it is. He said, Huggy, you're makabel from your father. And he said to me, straight, he said, did I ever stop you from taking a seat? You could sit. I would never stop you. I said, I wouldn't take a seat if I wasn't given a seat. He said, Mechatesa. You want me to mechabed you? You know what I mean? A rebbe doesn't do that. And he explained to me, I got some kabul, he was mazmer to me. But then one time, he had enough of my, giving him a hard time and things. And he said to me, let's get something straight. He said, where did you go to your first kinisa to school? I told him, the pre-1A, kindergarten, I forgot what it was called then. Who was your rebbe? I said, they didn't have rebbes. I had two moras, Mora Rivka and Mora Leah. He said, okay, could we put those two big Balideya aside, and understand that they're not competition here. What's your first grade Rebbe? And your second grade Rebbe? He went through each one. Where did he learn? What did he do? What did he accomplish? And I went through each one. There was a kind of interesting, eclectic group of people back in those days. Nothing I would, my second grade Rebbe became a money collector. My third grade Rebbe became a postman. My fourth grade Rebbe was pride and joy. You get the kashrus. He quit the job after a while. And my fifth grade Rebbe was proud that he was in the Irgun. He used to always tell stories that he used to fight with the British and Israel. He was a Zionist. He got us all worked up. And so on and so forth. He told me, so did you ever see a gadol? I said, I saw him, Moshe Feinstein. I said, yeah, he's not a gadol. You ever spoke to him? You ever got anything from him? I said, shalom. He said, so he made the cheshbon, he chazed over me the whole thing, and then he said, so everything that I was makabel for my father. My father had a day that the whole world reckoned with. Not everybody agreed with him, but there was a tumult in the world, and every Rav offered their opinion. And then my father said, Sinishtazai, everybody tzittered. Everybody tzittered. And they were makabel his day. And he had told me stories once. How somebody once came to him, to this Mishkarov, and gave him a whole thing. People argue with you. He said, okay. Mishkarov didn't answer, but the guy wasn't letting Mishkarov go. My father opened up a Shuvas Rambam, and he showed him that somebody once came to the Rambam and told this to the Rambam. And and the Rambam wrote this guy a tshuva. And my Rebbe said, my father told this guy, the same tshuva the Rambam gave to him, I'm giving it to you. People much greater than you are machashev with my day. My day is not just Amadei. It was a day that's coming from HaRav Meir HaLevi Soloveitchik. He had a Messiah from the Grove, from HaRav Volozhiner. This was amazing Messiah. You can't master what a Messiah is. We don't know what a Messiah is. We never heard, all things we heard of it, we never know. We have no haracha for a Messiah. It's all new Torah. It's all, he told me, it's Torah from the Midbar. So you came from America. In America, the grass, they just discovered grass. The grass just started to grow there. There was no grass. It's a Midbar. You know what a Midbar is? So now you have little saplings, you have little trees. Mitzvah Hashem, find the insults, but to see this, unheard of. And all of a sudden, I chapped it. Koshe mises tzadikim lefnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu ki yom shenishtabru b'haluchas. The Hasoga, when he said a shita, when he said a deya, it wasn't him talking. It was Bishkarov talking. It was the HaRav HaLevi Soloveitchik talking. The most brilliant mind of time in his time. And it was Meir HaLevi talking, and HaRav Volozhiner talking. They believed in Messiah. They weren't looking for briskei chedushim. They were looking for birurim and understanding, and the Messiah had to be klor. And if there was a Messiah, you could bring all the svaras in the world. You could have all the arguments possible. You know what he would say? Von alles Svaralach. Von alles Svares was Tutzach. It's out Golnish Welt. If the Messiah, we have a Messiah Azay, that's the Emes, La Amitoi Shel Torah, and that's it. And then anything was like that. I'll never forget, in Moitze Shabbos Kodesh, Parshas Matos Masei, in Tov Shin Lamed Zay. The Rebbe was mekarev me in a certain unique way that he didn't do to anybody else. I don't know why I was zeichet, but Baruch Hashem I was zeichet. He told me that he's going to give me time right after Havdalah, and he's going to let me ask him whatever I want. It's going to be my time. I'm not going to learn something in a sefer, but ich kann him fragen was ich will. At that time, it was my first year when I came there. I didn't appreciate it. It was my second year maybe. I didn't appreciate it so much. But I began to think of questions, and and one of the first things, I went with him and I hacked him at Shainik over and over, was about bitachon. And he was mechanech me. B'darkei HaKodesh. He didn't care what taught. And I wrote it down in Yiddish. The words. I asked him, the first question I asked him is, Zu medaf machen hishtadlus. Do you have to make hishtadlus? And he told me, Nein. Was happens? As you told me. Nein. Was happens? He said, "Mit darf nicht machen keine Stadlis. Mit darf nur haben bitochen. You only have to have bitochen." Habe ich ihm gefragt. Sei es dem. As the ganze Welt meint, the whole world thinks, as man da fair machen Stadlis. You're arguing with the whole world. Hat geantwortet, as die Stadlis is nur für schwachere Menschen, was können nicht haben bitochen. Lass man sie machen nicht anders. Weil sie meinen, because they think that only if you do a Maisa will it come. Does it? Und man hat nicht die richtige bitochen. It goes pages and pages. I wrote every word down in Yiddish, what he told me afterwards. I remember it. I used to go run home and write it down afterwards. I remember standing there listening with all my koiches. This was his Messiah. This was the Brisker Messiah. Didn't care what anybody else think. That's all. He said, you have to know, he said. He says, you don't need bitachon. He stadlust health gornisht. Was is bashert is bashert. What's bashert is coming. No. And he told me a bunch of maises about this. So I asked him, if bashert is bashert, why do you have to have bitachon? If it's destiny, it's going to happen. Why do you have to have bitachon? And he explained to me that when you have bitachon, that makes something bashert. Bitachon makes something bashert. And he asked me at that time, why do you have such a shayla for? Why are you worried now about Parnasa? You're 18 years old now. I said, you're worried now about Parnasa? I said, in America, this is the people, kids, people think about the future. He couldn't understand the shayla. And then I asked him, so what should I do? So he said, spend your efforts and energy working on being kaina bitachon. As much bitachon as you'll be kaina, that's how much hishtadlus you're going to gain that you won't have to do. At that time, I never heard of brisker hishtadlus, brisker bitachon. I didn't know anything, but he gave me the Messiah like this. And he spoke at length, I'll tell you about Arichas, back and forth. Later on, I really heard from him Arichas in Hesped and the Meir HaLevi, where they got it from. So what would one other person say? Oh, what about that sheet? There's another sheet. There's another sheet. What sheet is? How many times he told me? He said, "What?" He told me there was a certain guy who wrote a sefer, a big Talmud Chacham. He wrote a sefer and he brought it to the Brisker Rav. And at the end of each piece, he came out. This Talmud Chacham writes, and he was related to the Brisker Rav. My father saw the sefer. He was looking at no. He'd make like, okay, that's fine. And then he came to the end of the siman, and he put the halachas there. Was? He turned to the next siman, he saw the same thing. All of a sudden, my father took his elbow, took the sefer, pushed it off the table onto the floor. Nicht der Meinstub. I said, it sounds extreme. Oh no. He said, the Chavetz Chaim. But this guy, the Brisker Rav said, der Mensch meint that he's machadish, he's creating the mitzvah of Tkiyah Shofar. That he's creating the mitzvah of Shiva Sukkah. That he's creating the mitzvah of Chanukah. What? This is part and parcel, this is inherent in Klal Yisrael. The Chavetz Chaim hat schon weggestellt, was ist Yeshiva Sukkah, was ist Tkiyah Shofar, and was ist Chanukah, was ist alles. This is what you do. And if the Chavetz Chaim says it, you do it. That's what the Chavetz Chaim does. That was the Messiah. My Rebbe told me before his father died, he asked his father, Tati said, what should I do? Who should I rely on after you're not here? He said, Gate to the Chavetz Chaim. In his lifetime, it wasn't like that. Lifetime, the Tati Gepaske gave him the Messiah. What if I don't have a Messiah? You go to the Chavetz Chaim. You want to know how he was medactic in the Chavetz Chaim? Oof. Did he take the Chavetz Chaim's Messiah to heart? Like you can't imagine. These people lived by the Messiah, and they lived with such yiras shamayim and dikduk. Their lives were so medukduk. Every story they had was b'dikduk godol nifla. If it wasn't said over exactly, Pasha, my Rebbe told me, I told the Rebbe, that's a little strong. I mean, what's a big deal? The dikduk in this year, in this place, in this town, at this time, they would say a story over, and it was like Ki'ilu was Terem Yisina. It was not Negayah. She said, I'll tell you a story. One told me a story, so I'll tell you a story. It was a Yid came to my father, the Brisker Rav, and he told him over that a description that his father, Reb Chaim, said over on the people of Yerushalayim. And he gave a number of adjectives to describe the people of Yerushalayim. 10 years later, the man came back to the Brisker Rav. Brisker Rav, and he repeated the story. He forgot that he told it to the Brisker Rav. He repeated the story. But this time, two of the adjectives, he switched the order. Brisker Rav said, Du zok sheker. Du zok sheker. You're saying a lie. So the guy said, no, I heard this from Chaim. Das ist liegen. The guy said, what are you talking about? Mit 10 year kirik, you told me the story over, and you had the adjective switched around. Which one did he say? He didn't say both. And by the tat is meduyuk, because if he said it over the adjective is in this order, that's a Messiah. So which way is the Messiah? A false Messiah? The dikduk, I used to ask him, I said, what's up? Everything has to be so medukdik exact. So he used to say over a brisker mice. There was once a guy said to the Brisker, why can't you compromise a little bit? So he said, okay. There was once a kid, a Rebbe was trying to teach his kid how to read. He's sitting there, he's telling him, Kedar la'omer, Kedar la'omer. The kid said, Rok da la'omer, Lok da omer. The Rebbe said, Kedar la'omer. Whatever the Rebbe said, just repeat what I say. Whatever the Rebbe said, the kid said it another way. After 18 times, the guy had 18 ways of saying, Lok da'imah, kedar la'imah. The guy didn't say kedar la'imah. So the Rebbe says to him, what's b'staz action? Why is such action? Why are you so stubborn? Zok shek kedar la'imah. You said everything else, can't say kedar la'imah. The kid said, Rebbe, ich bin action. Du bist action. I'm saying it in 15 different ways. And you keep on insisting your way is the right way. Well, what's the shot? That's exactly how Brisk looks at things. Kedar Laim is only one Kedar Laim. It's nicht nur a halbe Kedar Laim, a rock Kedar Laim. This makes not jack any other way. A Messiah is, that's how it is. To give you a dugma of his Yerushalayim, that I saw personally, watching him was watching Shulchan Aruch in action like you never saw in your life. Every minute, every second, every kratz of his board on Shabbos during the shir, he would take his hand like this and go his hand like this. He never touched his payas. He was afraid that maybe a hair would fall out, that he'd be even pulling out his payas. You can't be massing the diktuk in his davening, in his oleinu. He said oleinu like you heard Brisker say Krishma. He was, from the beginning of davening till the end, the diktuk was niflo v'hafla. His Shabbos, when he walked in the street on Shabbos, he was careful not to walk. He walked on his tiptoes. It was during the winter when the leaves fell on the ground, and he was afraid he was going to ask them, what are you doing? He said, what happens if the leaf gets stuck to my shoe? So I carried. I said, nothing, no Erev over here. Nothing. Careful, that's Stan Kevin Mas. I can't tell you the mirror of the Dukim. But I'll tell you one diktuk I saw. That was unique that I saw. It was a day I came to him and I asked him if he would like to go to the coast. I told him I have a car. Would you like me to take you to the coast? He said yes. He said he hasn't been there. It's almost 30 days. He'd like to go at least once in 30 days. He wanted me to take him. So he asked me, does he have a few minutes? Could I give him a few minutes? He needs a few minutes to prepare. I figure he's going to go to the washroom. So I knew his house, like the layout of his house. He walked out of the room and he walked into his bedroom. And I was waiting for the other door to open up, the door that leads to the washroom. And he stayed in his bedroom. I waited there maybe 5 minutes. And I was wondering what's going on there. I went to the kitchen to make sure his wife was in the kitchen. And then the bedroom was right next to the shir room, which was his best medrash. So I decided to be a little bit chutzadik. So I put my hand on the door to see if it was open. If he didn't want me to come, if he didn't want me, he would lock it. A lot of times locked on the inside. And it was open a little bit. And I put my head in like this, and I see him standing in the middle of the room, his hands on the back of a chair. And I say, what's the time? Is it okay? Like, I was afraid I was getting my bed, getting my hand. Achas dosei lomas like Achashverosh. He didn't put the scepter out to you. I figured he had handed me, but he didn't. He didn't do that. So I said, "Could I come in, please?" So he said, he thought about it for a minute. And he said, "Okay, Mishum HaKoros HaToif, you can come in." It was unique. I never heard him say such a thing before. I came into the room, and he was in the middle of chazering over, Baal Peh, all of the halachas that's negeya to sing the Kaisel Maravi. He had started from the Gemara. When I came, he was holding the Shulchan Aruch, and he feared his Baal Peh. It's all Baal Peh, the Mishnah Berurah too. I was shocked. I asked him, where did you start from? He said, the Gemara Brachas. I said, what's the purpose of this? Why do you do this for? Now, he had spoken about this many times, how it's important before you do a mitzvah. There was a Messiah of the Meir HaLevi, of Vayetzi Yankiv, and Ve'el Charona, and two Zachin, and he made two mitzvahs out of it, and the importance of making a mitzvah out of everything you do, and in every action that you do to see the mitzvah, make sure you're doing it properly according to halacha. And he did it himself. And he was going through the whole Zach, and I was in the spoil. I said, this is what you do before you go. He said, you have to pay yourself. You don't do it every day, so you have to be prepared. He was chazing over all the halachas, by what the psukim say when you see Yerushalayim, when you see Mokum HaMikdash. Also, when he got to the Bir Halacha, he started thinking, and he started thinking out loud. All of a sudden, he said to me, can I matriach you another few minutes? So this time I figured, okay, now he needs the washroom. Now, so he went running to his wife, so I followed him to the kitchen, and he says to his wife, Elisheva, so the flesh is shemfaltik. For lunch, he would eat a piece of meat. Mamish, for nothing else but the gesund. That's why he ate it. Not for Hano Kihuzeklau. Hano's Ilm Haza wasn't in his realm of his radar. So he said, if it's ready, there was a piece left over from yesterday. Is that that piece I'm going to eat today? She said, yes. He said, okay, give it to me now. Don't even make it hot. Serve it to me cold. So she said, I don't want to eat nothing else. I just want to have that piece of meat. So he came back. She said, okay. So then we walked back to the room, and I said, Rebbe, can I ask, what's the push here? What's this? You're still hungry? I thought maybe he was hungry. He didn't eat meat. She said, no. he said, the Bir Alocha, the Shartzian, no, sorry, he told me this. The Kafta V'Ferich state, in Kafta V'Ferich state, that the day you go to the Kaisel and you see the Kaisel, you have a din of an oinen and you don't eat meat. That's flesh. You don't eat meat. I said, because some Kafta V'Ferich says that. You're going to do everything Kafta V'Ferich says? So he said, then he told me that story. That before my father died, he told me, if I don't know what to do, I should follow the what you call. In my father's lifetime, there was no Kaisel. There was no Kaisel. He told me the Chavetz Chaim brings this Kafta V'Ferich in two different places. I have to be noig like this. That means that gerechnet with them. He was married this. I said, okay. He had no musik. That's how he went. That's how he lived his life. The diktuk, because he's not going to be able to eat the meat later on. I was once sitting by him. He was once eating, and I came into the room. I said, "Oh, I see you eating. I'm not going to stare you." So he said, "Wer gesagt du störst mir?" I said, "Everybody knows people eat. It's a stare to people that eat." He said, "By mir das gar nicht kein stare. It's not doesn't bother me at all." I said, "The guy eats it. I mean, he wasn't eating exactly. Didn't eat with a knife and a fork. Knife they didn't know from invisible knives." But I said, "What's the pshat?" So I said, "You sure? It's not respectful." He said, "What am I doing wrong? I'm not doing anything wrong." So I said, "Okay." So I took a seat and I sat down, and then I said, "What's the pshat then? Why don't you stare? Why don't you stare? I mean, I would stare. If you came into my house, I was real eating. I put the food away. Let's get that business. What's supposed to? You know what I mean?" So he said, "Ich weiß so. Das ist euch a chinuch was man." When my father came to Eretz Yisrael, Reb David Baran, who was the head of the Prushim, he was the head of the Prushim, asked him to go check out the Briskerov to see Avu Halt. Is somebody reliable, not reliable? So what happened? So somebody came to my father, gave him a tip, a heads up, that if David Baran's coming to check you out. So if he comes, be on your best behavior. He didn't say that, but that was the mashmoyas. So David Baran came, and it was in the middle of eating. Briskerov was in the middle of eating. So he said, "I'm sorry, you're milling. Wait till you finish eating. I'll wait here." Briskerov said, "What's your Come da rein." Take all the people there, and he ate, and they looked at each other, and Briskerov ate weiter, and he looked at him weiter. After 10 minutes said, "You can't ching it. You can't ching it. You can go." So when he walked out, they asked him, "Was sagst du, Briskerov?" Das ist ein Ehrlichkeit. Das ist ein Ehrlichkeit. What did you see? He didn't say anything. He said, "Stücke teure." Stellt sich nicht von kein Menschen beschassen essen. He doesn't get gestört at all. You know why? So I didn't have to start. I was young. I was not young then. I was stupid. So I asked whatever. What does that mean? So he's mazbet to me. He said, when a person puts on a talis, does he get gestört from somebody watching him? No. A person puts on tefillin, does he get gestört from somebody watching him? No. Why do you get gestört when you're eating? It's a nice behemoth. You act like a behemoth. I see your stuff in your face. You understand? So it doesn't look good. By Briskerov, the Essen given und tefillin. It was the selbe Zach, and that was the chinuch that he gave his kid. My Rebbe was working on it. So then I watched my Rebbe eat. He was eating a piece of fish, and he ate the fish with his hands, and I said, I wasn't afraid of anything. I asked him, as I asked him the fish, I love that. So he did the hands, and yeah. Meat, and anything else he ate with a fork. But the fish I saw, he said, the tate fleck essen azoi, and the zayde fleck essen azoi, because of the bones. Be careful of the bone, they have more control if you eat it without a fork than like this. Else, shmir. Then he finished his fish, and then he was holding by his kugel. He had a piece of kugel there. It was a regular supper night, and he took the plate, he tilted the plate, and he started pushing the kugel like playing with the kugel. It's a square piece of kugel, pushing back and forth on the plate. So I said, ich kann fragen, was wir tun? Ich spielt in kugel. You want to have something to play with? What's the shot? It's nicht dein Geschäft. None of your business. So I continue for another little bit, and then I said to him, Ebbe, thought, make maybe a penny for your thoughts. So I said, Afal Pikin, Efsha. So he said, okay, you want to hear what my shail is? I'll tell you my shail. My shail is, am I hungry, or do I just want to eat this kugel? If I'm hungry, I'm going to eat this kugel. If I'm not hungry, and I eating the kugel because just I want to eat the kugel, and I can't be machriya klar if the reason why I want this kugel is because I'm hungry or because I have geschmack for it. So I said, how are you being machriya? So he's thinking. He was thinking over. Then he jumped up. He said, "Azal chashayil is you wait too long with them." He said, "You always machriya. The Yitzhar always wins." So you have to misalik the zach. He ran out. I said, "I'll take it out." He ran out of the room to put it in the kitchen. But you know what kind of we're talking about? We're talking about somebody who's not stam. This is not stam. He went through a tkuf in his life, a very difficult tkuf. He had Yisurim with one of his oldest son, and he got divorced. They made him crazy. They broke his door. They broke his mezuzahs. They put signs under Meir's door in front of his house on the street and on the walls. They made calls to his house day and night. They ordered pizzas for him. They ordered anything you can order to your house to make him tzoros. They made him tzoros day and night. And he might drove him crazy. And then they gave his son a lot of tzoros. And Meir wasn't talking about it. Meir wasn't saying anything. Somebody called me and said, it's the matzav is very, very serious. There's a lot of pressure here. And so come to Israel. Somebody has to break open the Rebbe as a Red, and he should talk. He's not talking. I'm nervous. It's going to plot. So, got on a plane. I went there to Israel. I spent a day or two with him, just coming around a few times a day, seeing him. I didn't say anything. He didn't say anything to me. The third day, I came into the house late in the afternoon. He was sitting by the table in an unusual seat on the table. And I said to the Rebbe, Fort. I said, Midaf Red? I said, I'm here 2 days. Gonish Geret. I said, you're going through a very serious matter. It's a very serious tzara. He said, there's up Midaf Red. I said, Shestein Posik. The Ogo believe ish, if you have a worry in the heart of a person, Yasichen Alachem. She says to me, Werd machriye gewen, as es nicht Yashichen. Because the Gemara has two ways to read the word Yasichen. Either Yasichen meaning you should relate it and speak it out, or Yashichen means you should masir das from it, not talk about it. So who told you your pshat is right? Maybe the Ikkedam is the right pshat. I said, I can't tell you about that. The Welt sagt mir nicht. That's Rep in the Welt. So he said to me, no, aber you mean doch gut. You mean well. You mean well. He said, ich wilt redden. I said, Hineni, das bin ich da. I said, I came for that. He said, okay. I said, I want to understand if I was meretnish bis jetzt. And why yes. So he said, I'll tell you. Alle will redden. What do they want to read? They want to read what kind of tzaras I'm going through. They want to talk about Pashit, the job, how schlecht the Mensch is, how schlecht these people are helping her are, how schlecht the family is, how schlecht this. They want to give me all the lishmalshinas that I could possibly have. Das ist gerät. Das ist gar nicht gerät. Ich will reden. Aber ich will reden. I want to talk what the Gemara says. In the Gemara steht, Im roye Odom sheyesurin boyen olov, yefashfesh b'maisav. und ich sitz da und ich bin mefaschweisch b'meisa. Und ich weiß, I know, ein Odom noikeif etzboi milmato elo im kein machrizin olov milmaila. That a person does not bang his little finger unless the machrizin olov milmaila. And you know what kind of kalim they use in Shemayim? They use the tiniest little measuring kalim, thimbles, unkleiner the thimbles. Told me the word Yiddish that I didn't know what it was until he explained it to me. And he explained it, they knead it out in such little droplets. Ein Tropens, zweiten Tropens. It means it's always gemosten, it's measured out exactly. Sag mir was. Adara, ich will reden mit dir. Tell me was. I said, oh, I'm not going down that road. I said, that's one road I'm not going down. That's what it was. This past summer, he didn't make Ben his money. He didn't make Ben his money. So there was talk about not making Ben his money because what's going on in Eretz Yisrael, because of the terrorist attack, because of the army, all kind of stories. So I was very surprised. By him, Ben his money was Ben his money. So I asked him. He said, "What's up?" I said, "Did you go away?" I said, "Asked me to go. You taking a vacation?" He said, "No, I'm gelernt Ashir jeden Tag." I said, "What? No Ben Esmanim? There you are, no Ben Esmanim." I said, "What's that? Why not?" He said, "We learned the Geschmack of Perik, we learned Tzaitu and El Nemorim. They good gelernt. It was very Geschmack." So I said, "What's the Pshat?" He said, "Ich had getracht und say, I thought I'm going to start my Ben Esmanim nach Tisha B'Av. Freitag, Tisha B'Av was Moitze Shabbos. Freitag, I got sick. And the doctor staying had to come, and he had to take care of me, gave me a shot, and then he came back, Moitzer Shabbos, gave me another shot. Ich feel krank. The last day, this man. Nu steht in the Gemara, im Roye Adam Yisurim Boimelov, you could always rely, Yitle Bebitl Teich. There's always a default, Yitle Bebitl Teich. Ich darf Maschlim sein. After Mechazik, and this year, not going to be any much of yeah, who would ever think that? Most of them say, hey, Israelis, here, do this, go now. That's just cheshbon. You have to understand what this is. This is a different zone. In his derech of thinking, I tried so many times to get him to think. Every time I told him something, geschmack, that I thought was geschmack, he would listen. He wouldn't react. He would ask me, "From wann kommt das?" I remember I once told him something from a Great Rosh Shiva. He told me, "It schmeckt mir nicht good. Doesn't smell good." I told him. He said, "What's the source?" I don't want to tell him. So I said, "Tell me, so what's the source?" So I told him. So, my father told me, this source, this makor, is Deus Kaisvais, false hashkafis, and Deus Kaisvais. But he had such a nose, if the thought wasn't in the kav that he has a Messiah for, he wouldn't go there. He would never argue with you, but he heard, okay. But I once told him a beautiful pshat, pasuk. He said, it's nicht how we think. His thinking process was so trained. One of the first shiurim I came as a bacher, he said a kasha over in the Rashi Menachos. Never forget. And he said a kasha over, and then he took his glasses off, and he put his fingers on, he held his fingers between his eyes and his nose, and he thought for longest time. I remember thinking, I never saw a person thinking shit so long. And he thought, and then he said, Ich weiß nicht. So I had 3 trutzim on this kasha. I told him that kasha during the Seder, and I had 3 trutzim. I was waiting to hear what he was going to say. So after the shir, it was my first, shir encounter with him. I went over after the shir, and I said, the children, I said, yeah. I said, at the Shilas, when gestalter shir, ich hab 3, possibilities. She said to me, 3. He started to think again. And he said, Eine von sie must be this. So I said, yeah, oh, to those. I said, the zweite must be this. The third, I can't think that. It's like below the belt. You know? It's below the what you. I said, Rebbe, so what's the pshat? Why don't you say it? Bonisi viso sarti. I built it, and I had a cash on it. I built it, I had a cash on it. Then I went to the second one. Second mahalach. I built it, and I had a cash on it. Bei mir ist schwer. Nicht Rashi ist schwer. I'm not worried about Rashi. Rashi darf nicht kein Advokat. Rashi doesn't need a lawyer. Seid nicht der Advokat für Rashi. Und nicht für den Rambam. Sog, was du verstehst, du siehst, als Rashi sagt. Sog, was der Rambam sagt. I would come to you sometimes handle Rambams. I would come and say, what are you doing? What are you dumping on the Rambam? Like, have a Rambam. I said, but the Rambam is shver. He says, you worry about the Rambam's covet. The Rambam doesn't need you to worry about his covet. Forget about it. Maybe after a while he told me, train yourself. Don't say one thing that's not mukhrach. Don't come out of your mouth as zach, no efsharias, only hechrach. After a while, you train yourself, think like that, and don't look. He was very mocked, but I should look at Sfarim. I'm a Sfarim. I have a yitzhar to look at Sfarim. I like Sfarim. I said, don't look at Sfarim. Not now. Later on, you can look. So nicht jetzt. Why? I said. He said, I'll tell you why. He said, because the most precious thing you have is your brain, and your brain is a diamond. Your brain is not a rock. Rocks you carry in dump trucks, and they haul them from place to place, and they get scratched and they get banged around. When you subject your head to all kind of svarim, you're taking your head and you're treating it like a rock, and you're devaluing it gefährlich. But if you treat it like a diamond, and you carry it in a special pushka, a special package, the special this, he taught us. HaRav already said, he's told him a lot of times, don't think like that. Don't think like that. And he explained to me, that we teach you over here how not to tracht. Somebody once asked, he told me many times, the couple of mices, same lesson, was that it doesn't mean that in other places you're not going to get the right teretz. Somebody once asked Reb Chaim and somebody, Beislev, Reb Chaim and somebody else for Abkash. And Reb Chaim said one teretz, and the other guy said two teretz. So Beislev says, Zestedim chilik. So the guy says, what do you mean? I said two, he said one. I'm ahead of the game. He said, name. He said the right teretz, and he left out, he omitted the wrong one. You said the right one and the wrong one. The Mela, it's a wrong teretz. That's how they learn. You have to understand, they're shyness every shaynim. They didn't care what anybody thought, said. If a Rishon said it, it was gold. If it was a Messiah Satira, they wanted to know the emes. So I used to ask him, don't you understand that the whole world doesn't go like this? He said, yeah, so what? He never put the world down. He said, they don't have Messiah. It's a Nebuch. It's a Nebuch. They don't have Messiah. So I said, it is a Nebuch. So he said, why is it a Nebuch? I said, because they don't want a Messiah. So, if Divas Vilnish came Messiah, those don't want a Messiah, you have to understand that, and that's why, if he had a Messiah from his father, of how an Anhaga in Klal Yisrael has to go, it was unbelievable. There was another aspect of his life that I was zeichet to partner with him for, I can't tell you how many years, maybe 37 years. And that was his chesed. He had no Yuridika chesed. He was a pauper deluxe. Didn't have any money. And he used to do tremendous chesed. He had a mishpacha. But he used to worry and daiga about other people when it came to Yom Tovim, Chanukah, Purim, Pesach, whatever it was. Shavuos. He was always worried about them. And he used to have a whole system where he would take envelopes, put it in money, and they would go and put it by people's doors. I once went to a tzaddik nifler, Yitzchak David Gutfarb. That was a friend from Shmuel Hummer from this tzaddik Yerushalayim, Kedoshi Elyon. And I went to visit him, and I see on the floor in front of his door an envelope. I looked at the envelope, I said, right away, it's Meir's handwriting. Meir's handwriting is like a print. You could take it to the bank, it's like a printed in Meir's hands. That's how they did everything exact. His writing was mamish, I can't tell you how good his writing was. I saw the envelope there. I said, why don't you put it in the house? I said, why is it Vaishim? Why is it Vaishim? Never open the door, give the guy a hand. Oh no, not a Vaishim person. He used to call me every time. Send the money by Zeitens. Don't wait till every Yom Tov. I needed it a few weeks. But people need the money. They can't have the money a week before Pesach. They're not going to buy things before Pesach a week before. Everybody was going to buy at least 2 weeks, 3 weeks before. Schick the geld, the hegdim hofshet. That's the only time he would call me, unless he needed something else. Then he would call me for that. Even I called him every week. I spoke to him for 40 years, came out every week. 38 years, come out every week. That's one thing he called me. And he used to makir toiv. He got more. The chesed I can't tell you. And I made another project for another baby of his. His care for almonis. Almonis, unbelievable. His sensitivity to nechei ruach, people who were down. If you ever spoke to him, he had an amazing thing. If you spoke to him, people used to come to him all the time, hakem a chaynik, chakem a heinik. They would mamish dreim a cup with shtus. He always like this. He'd look at you, lift his eyes. He'd look at you with all the great big eyes. He'd look at you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He never made the guy feel like, do me a favor, stop bugging me. Never. And people would ask him shtus questions. He used to say, I saw many times people ask questions. You know what he say? I'm a nervous man. I'm nervous, a little schizo, So I can't make my mind up. So I'm not sure what to do. So I do this way, I do that way. I'm not sure, That's how he lived. He wasn't depressed. You never can imagine a person who does the thing only because it's right. Another thing, he never spoke about any gains by doing mitzvahs. He never mentioned, if you learn Torah, you're going to have simcha. You're going to have bracha. If you keep Shabbos, the words never came out of his mouth. Shabbos, Mekara, bracha, Chabarayin, Shabbos, Meshugameh. You get brachas. Don't you want Olam Haba? Never mention the word. So I asked him, what's the pshat? I said, when I go out and try to encourage people, inspire people, you tell them the benefits. The shoes, dances, the shoes jumps, keep the mitzvahs, you can have happiness, long life, longevity, kids, shalom bayis, they buy into the program. He said, Unzel Mesoira, our Mesoira is, Vos meheist tutmin. What you're commanded is what you do. We don't know anything about benefits. Benefits never came on the radar. Used to bug a delays out of me. I used to think as a bacher, so what's in it for me? What am I getting? Used to do it this way, it's Krishma. I think, how do you do that Shema every single time? I remember I used to sneak into the house sometimes when he davened to listen. I would say, I'm sure today he's going to daven a little faster. I was sure so many times he was going through a tough time in his life, or he had a very rough day, he was very busy, and he wasn't feeling good. All they knew behind the door, all they knew, Lishabeach, La'adoin HaKoil. I'm thinking, Shrek, it's not Krishma. It's Aleinu Lishabeach. But he told me the same thing. When he read Gemara, he read it that way. You know why? Because in Sinai hat man gesagt, ein Wort. Kedor loime, nicht rock the loime, log loime, nicht huchi ketoni, hachi ketoni. He said the word exactly like it was. And it was amazing. That's how they lived their whole mitzias to the end. The chesed, his savor panim yafis to broken people. It was nerdic. When you talked to him, he gave you all the attention. I could sit with him sometimes for half hour, and he would look at me.
Like, you want to ask him? Ask him what you want. What the willst? Hey, maybe. I didn't have anything to ask. So I felt bad for him. So he said, no. I said, he never would say to me, a good Nacht. I could sit there for 2 hours with him, looking at him, and he would sit with his hands on the table, thinking. If I said something, he'd look, yo. Like, if I asked him, yo. And if I asked any question, yeah. Give me great attention. This is what he told me. This is how he was mechanech me. This is how he was madrich me. If I said a svara that was him, he said, don't say it. Then I started saying, I told him, after a couple of weeks, I went to him, I said, I can't say this svaras anymore. I can't say svaras because it's not muchrach. He said, that's the first step to learning how to think. That's the erste Schritt. Oh, good. And I remember the once there was a big Rav came in, after a while, and this Rav came in there, and Rav asked him a question in the sukkah, I remember, and he saw I was chomping at the bit, but I knew he never spoke. In his presence, he never said a word. His kids would never say anything. But I let him know that if he's interested, I have what to say. So he told me, Yisrael, zog dem was de teretz zu sein kash. Tell him why he's wrong. So I was thinking, wow. That was like a jump. All of a sudden he didn't ask me, what do you want to say? So I told him, he said, that's exactly how you have to say it. I remember before that there were times, it would bother him, if you didn't think it right, if you didn't say it exactly right, it was rak the leimer. There was only one way of saying it. It had to be clear, to the point, nicht gedreht, nicht gebepchet, nicht gehackt. He wasn't impressed with anybody, how big your beard was, how about schwere kashes. He used to say, wer sagt das ist schwer? Wer sagt das ist schwer? Like, in Kaveya, you have a schwere kashe. Like, mez meche teisa. And he would say, where's the kashe? I once went to my shvog, I remember, I couldn't believe it. And my shvog, we were going around the whole day, we were asking a certain kashe to G'dayim. Today I'm telling you, went to the G'dayim. And everybody said, good. They were fouled a little bit. I said, let's go, let me give him the Rebbe. So I went to the Rebbe, and every time I used to think, he's not going to know what, he doesn't really know the singing. He made himself, he asking me. She said, he said, by uns, neisi Gemara v'nechse. Bring a Gemara, we look inside. He brought a Gemara. So Martha Hedger, he started reading the Gemara. He read the Gemara, Kasha. Is this the Kasha? He cleared. He said, what's the given the Kasha? He was mazber the Kasha b'tuv tam b'das. Then he said the Teretz. Looked in the Rashi, remember? Yet, what's a Gnoi Shver? Golnisht. The Shverkeit disappeared. There was a mistake in understanding the Gemara. Your premise, the Hanocha was wrong, but never say that. He said, Kum Tachai says Sim Yusuf. Good, Baruch Hashem. Close the Gemara, get up, put it back in the Shabbat. I said, you see the Pshat? There was no shit. I could never talk to them and learning like this. Every time, there was a time for Kufa, I used to go and talk to them like that every day. And then he told me, Echanish Kinkayach. So finally, I stopped coming. He came to Shiva to see me. He said, why don't you come anymore? I said, you're on the Kayach. I'm getting tired of this. I mean, I'm giving up my whole lunch period, my whole Ben Estar. I used to come talk to him 2 hours. Then I'd go back to second Seder. I would skip lunch. He said, oh, no, you have to eat lunch. And he started asking me every day, was did you gegessen heint? What did you eat today? Nee, darf essen Fleisch. I don't need it. He was asking me questions of what I'm eating and how I'm sleeping and what I'm doing. Darf sein gesund? Nee, nein. He had it down to a thing. So he told me, what do I say when I don't have koyach? What do I mean? He said, you don't understand what I'm saying. I don't have koyach now to tuzacharein in the sugi you're coming to talk to me about. I would talk about any other sugis, a lot of sugis, not necessarily the one we talk about. And he never stared. Let's open a Gemara, he'd learn the whole sugi with me. Can't tell you how many Gemaras I learned with him like that. And I'd go through the Gemara, he would learn the Gemara out to Kem Zog and Azay. He said, you want me to shokel my cup to you? Shokel my cup, should I make it this? No. Should I say that? Okay, no, but don't bother me, I'll bother you. He said, but I didn't say you can't come to my house. Come fragt etwas leichter. I'm giving you, think of asking something lighter. I don't have to be misamitz and go through a whole sugya with you. He's typish. I could have, if you wouldn't have come to me, it would have been curtains for me. I would have said, I talked to me, I talked to you, you got on the kayak, you got sick, you got this. He didn't say that. He gave me Musar. I wasn't afraid to hear Musar from him. I loved Musar from him. I remember once I came from America, I was all excited to see him. I came to his house. The Rebbe told me, I licked in bed. He was in his bedroom. So all of a sudden I hear from the bedroom, he screams out, Wer dort? So he goes and says, Schroel Brogeda. Oh, sollt mal reinkommen. Went to his bedroom, and he sat me down in a chair next to his bed. He was holding a medrash in his hand, and he started to ask me, tell me of a medrash, and he told me of a kasha. So I wasn't sure if he was telling me a kasha with a teretz, without a teretz. So I started offering a teretz. He said to me, Du hast da gekommen sagen, or gekommen herren? Did you come here to hear, or did you came here to say? I said, I came here to hear. Was sagst du? So I took it. I said, Chatossi, I'm sorry. I got myself. Then he told me his whole word. He had a whole word to tell me. And another time, nobody would have said, say what you want to say. He would have said, no, close the marriage, come on. But he gave me that Musar. And he was a person that wanted Musar. His critique was self-critique. He was so focused on critique, he used to ask me all the time, if I'm doing something wrong. I said, you ask him, I'm doing something wrong? Can I ask him, what kind of question he asked me? What question is wrong? But there was one time at Kufa, some people were complaining about the shir. So immediately after the shir, he would take me out of the room and into his bedroom. It was pitch dark, and he would say to me, Nu, Zog, hanged. Today, did I say good? Or tzarich geplappelt? So I didn't say anything. I said, Reb, don't ask me that question. Don't put me in the spot. She says, what do you mean don't put me in the spot? Why do you think I'm asking you? Because you're the only one that's going to tell me the emes. And I want to hear the emes. I said, I don't like that. Make someone else do this dirty work. I don't want to do this dirty work. He said, if I'm telling you to do it, you do it. No, let me chazer in the shir. And we had a chazer every shtel. Because he didn't give big arichas, he gives a lot of shtels. And he gave a lot of shtels, and he bleib schwer in a lot of things. And so he asked me, no, the first kasha we shtel, was that a shtel and nishke shtel? So the first one, that was a shtel. Okay, next. I said, next one wasn't a shtel. Nay, this is shashtana. I said, oh, yes, what I thought. Yes, then I told you. He said, next one. I said, next one for sure wasn't a shtel. He thought, he said, oh, sind gerecht. You're right. I'm thinking, it's just unbelievable. I had to defend. We were talking about a third party, and then he would say, "Can't finish long, right?" He used to ask me, "I can't finish. I don't know how to learn anymore, right?" I said, "Did I say that?" I didn't say that. I said, "Hey, God, they can't yell out." I'm only asking me Akashi. He said, "No, a bissel learn ken it noch, a bissel, not too much, a bissel learn ken it." He had this zach of critiquing himself. I can't tell you. After his first chasna he made. His first chasna he made, it was unbelievable. I drove him back from the chasna, so I tried to get him to daven Ma'ariv in the hall. They would have Ma'ariv right after the chuppah. I couldn't get him to Ma'ariv. I twisted his arm. So Rebbe started minions, the alt dog, daven slow. Again. On the way home, he said, first place you stop is by the apartment. The first thing he was masada on the way home from the chuppah was the mezuzahs. And he took out a measuring stick. He went to measure exactly the shlish on the door. The mezuzah should be in the exact spot, but not 1 inch off, 1 inch off. He marked it, and his son should put it on. The mitzvah. So this is what you do right now. I said, "Tosh is a mitzvah. That's what you do now." We went home. I said, "What's he going to do when you go home?" You go home. He's going to rest. So you going to rest now? He said, "Yeah." You come back later for the meal. He went to the bed. Remember, he was wearing a black sweater. I remember he was very hot. And he said to me, he lay down in the room. I was sitting in the outside room. All of a sudden, I thought he was going to close his eyes for a little, because the night before, he was up kamat the whole night, because at 4 o'clock in the morning, he running the ksuba himself. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, if you're writing the ksuba with one of these ink pens, a piece of ink fell on the ksuba between the lines. So I said, for that you're going to what you call it? That's not a psul. Nein, it's nicht kein psul. Aber meine Kinder wollen meinen that that's a chelik from the ksub. They know I don't put things in that doesn't belong there. They're going to think it's going to stay in Messiah. No? Started all over again. Like I said, oh, sure. So he didn't sleep a whole day. He was ice mensch. So I thought he was going to sleep. Lay down in bed. So, could you think of somebody I wasn't mechabit? Could somebody have been nifga? I said, how? I don't know who's going to be nifga. I said, you have your friend, your cheshuvim. You know what's going on in Yerushalayim. Was anybody there you saw, you think maybe nifga? I said, I'm not. Did I make any mistakes? I said, you asking me if I made mistakes? He started being mefashvish. He said, I said, what are you doing this for? He said, every time a person does something, you have to be memashmish acher kach before you mashmish, and you mashmish acher kach to see if what you're doing is you did it correctly or not. Don't make any mistakes. He started thinking the first bracha, the kedushin, the this, the that. I'm thinking when he came to Itzach Baruyik, he said, now I can daven Meir. He said, before I wasn't Baruyik, that everything was right, I couldn't daven Meir. And he sat to daven Meir like it was mamish. And he davened this regular Ma'ariv. Finished his Ma'ariv. Now he said, let's come to again. Go back to the place, but he has to bring a kais. He's bringing his own cup. I said, Rebbe, in the hall, they got enough cups for everybody. Everybody can get a cup in that place. They had a lot of cups in that place. He said, you were boidik the cups? You were boidik for any charitz in the edges? I said, I wasn't boidik. Did they have any lecher? Was there any dents? You checked for the dents? I didn't do that. He said, no. Let's be for sure. Let me say for zichet. He took a cup from his house. I remember he ran his finger around the edge, like this. Took it with a towel. Oh, yes, came again. That's not what that is. He was going to his own son's wedding. And to watch him do Netilas Yadayim, it was the avoided kosher shebamikdash. I never saw anybody in my life wash Netilas Yadayim like that. He'd wrap one hand with towels, and then he had a kais like this big, not stam, enough vaser, and he was so many shitas, I can't understand. I said, could you ever teach me what to do? He says, how can I teach you? He said, I watched my father for years. And I don't understand everything he did. Ich verstehe nicht im Ganzen, was getan. Etwas, aber nicht im Ganzen. I said, Rebbe, should I wash the heels down like that? It was like going to the mikveh. It was not stam. You can't imagine what it was like. This is how he lived his life. He was a living museum of a Shulchan Aruch. And it wasn't sometimes. It was in the bad moods, good days, happy days, sad days, troublesome days. There never was a stop. He was always shoilet in his das. When he went out of his house, every time I would walk out of the house with him to a shul, he would take a stack of coins to give tzedakah, to Michal tzedakah. If he forgot, he went back and he got the coins. I can't explain to you, there's just so much, and there's so much to learn from him. How people thought I used to think he was a nervous person. To a Talmud, especially a young Talmud, he treated one way. That he held, it was Reik Mar Talmidim. If I met him in the street, I'd go over and say, hi Rebbe, like that kind of thing, hi Rebbe, There was no such hi Rebbe with him. He never said anything to me. I used to walk next to him, sometimes I see him in the street, he never said anything to me, but I used to think, do I know this man? You know what I mean? It was like, kill or nothing. But eventually, it was Anhaga. He was doyeg for me, my roommates. He wanted a list. When I went to my room, my apartment, he wanted a list of my roommates. He wanted to say, them in Shlafich. And he went to Rebbe Sheberd. He wanted what yeshivas they're learning. He went to Rebbe and said, are they good or not? It was amazing the care that he took. The care, the Ivige Gebenkeit. The Talmud Yeshiva who had Baruch Hashem parents in Chutz La'aretz. She has parents in Chutz La'aretz. He has parents in Chutz La'aretz. But the guy didn't have any money. And Meir called him up 2 years ago, and he was going through a very tough period. And Meir said, "Idaf geld." Meir never calls him up. He said, "Has Meir called you up?" He said, "No." Meir said, "Idaf geld." He says, why are you asking? He said, I heard that you needed money. Shemaiti. So I said, Tav Geld. He said, the mayor sent him $600, which to Meir is like thousands of dollars. Can't tell you. Big brisket, $50 is already, 50 Shava Prutis, it's already Kama Prutis. But $600, the next year he called him again. What's Hostu? You sure? You sure you don't need? That's what it is. He cared. Not that he had it, but he cared. And when it came to Almonas Yisayim, just recently, the last thing I had with him was when Feivel and who went? What? Feivel Shmuel. No, Feivel. What? You ever come a Thursday night? Call me up on the phone. Oh no, I called him up Thursday night, and he answered the phone, and he said we're in a meeting. Usually, if it's a meeting, he wouldn't call up. I said, what's the meeting? He said, do you know so and so? Unser Talmud? I said, yeah. The guy. He said he has serious cancer. And he told me the whole story, all the details. The mayor was very big in details. He told me all the details. He said, we'll make a meeting here. We'll collect the money for him. Yeah, the Talmuds will give him $2,000. Yisrael, the helst, $2,000. Everybody gives $2,000. I said, Rabbi, you're going to have it. That weekend, when we went with Zweigel, that's what you want. That was the last money handoff. But I spoke to him since then. But last few weeks I couldn't speak to him. I called him. He wasn't answering the phone. He was too schwach. This afternoon, everybody say is a little bit dogma of what I saw and what I understood and the impact that it had on me. Pesach by night says in the halacha, Chayev Adam Lasik Bilchas HaPesach Kol HaLayla. Kol HaLayla. Understand? So a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was in Eretz Yisrael and decided I'm going to go to him early in the morning. Maybe it was 8 o'clock. I wanted to see what's Tutzach Dorten. And the Rebbitzin was cleaning up. She was beginning to clean up. She wasn't the beginning. She was finishing cleaning up from the Seder. So I said, "You clean up the Seder now? You left it." I thought maybe you left it. I said, "When did you finish?" She said, "We didn't finish." I said, "Gegangen." I said, "No." The place looked like a marble. The grape juices, all the wine was on the floor. The place looked like all there was it. So I said to him, I saw they were up all night. So I said to him, "Was mit gehandelt?" Oh. He said, "When you were gehandelt?" It was before davening even. So he said, "Was mit gehandelt?" Okay. He started to tell me over shilas they had in halachic shilas. I said, "Any vertlach?" He said, "In Shuchon Aruch steht Chayev Adam Lasik Behilchos HaPesach Kol HaLayla." Was meinst du es mit Gerät die ganze Nacht in Bnei Brak? In Tosefta steht mit Gerät Chayev Adam Lasik Behilchos Pesach. Oder da steht dort. Okay, that's what he lived. He lived with the halach, he lived with the zach, not stam, I can't tell you. Rishon Shaila, his son-in-law, said over today, that he was Parsha Zocher, he lanes. He gets the aliyah and he lanes. This year, before Zocher, in the morning, his eyes weren't working so good. He couldn't see so good. So he was mesupik if he's going to be able to read the Torah when it comes Parsha Zocher. So he started to scramble with all kinds of svarim. And his son-in-law came in, before everybody else came in, and he said, "Sollte wissen sein, as in alle Poskim." He said, "Over which ones? The Rivosh." He gave a whole list. I have to call him and get the exact list from him. He said over to me by the way. He said, "The mitzvah is shmiya, nicht kriya." He was worrying if it's a hidur to make kriya himself, to be carried a parsha, or just to be shemei in a parsha. The mitzvah is no shmiya, nicht kriya. Mocha Hashem dima mal kapara.